So I want to get to our patriotism in the Bible segment today. In this previous Sunday's readings, there were two of note. The first reading was from Isaiah 55, where he says, basically, turn to the way of the Lord. The way of the Lord is above all other ways. My analogy, and again, my purpose here is not to be a religious preacher, but to make the analogy to America. Return to the ways of the Constitution, return to the founding principles that made this country the greatest in the history of the world. There are no other ways that are superior to the American constitutional way. Agree?
Agree. God wants us to be free, and the American Republic was founded on truth. So this parallel is good and strong because the Bible is true and the American Republic is true, that our values are true. That was why our country was founded. It was founded on truth, and God wants us to be free. That's what it comes down to in the end.
Continuing the patriotic and constitutional analogy I'll do in the Bible, the gospel reading from Sunday was Matthew 20. And that's the one, that's a very interesting, that we're going to spend a few minutes talking about, a very interesting parable. I want to get your thoughts on it, but basically the kingdom, he talks about the kingdom of heaven. I believe, the analogy there is America's promise, America's constitution, freedom, and happiness is the kingdom of heaven as constitutionally defined is the analogy there. But the parable is about the landowner. And I'll make it really short, but he goes out in the morning and hires some workers, puts them to work. He goes out midday, hires some workers, put them to work, goes out mid-afternoon, hires some workers, put them to work, goes out the end of the day, hires some workers, put them to work. And whether you work the 10-hour shift or a 2-hour shift, at the end of the day, he paid everybody the same amount. And those who work the full shift, who he agreed to the amount he would pay them, complained like, they only work 2 hours. I work 10 hours. Why are you paying them the same? Well, the landowner can do whatever he wants with his money. He didn't betray any verbal contract he made with Roy. He said, here's what I'm going to pay you. And he paid them. So the analogy here is life is not fair always. It was certainly unfair, but there was nothing unjust. There was certainly nothing immoral about what he did. And the same thing here in America. If we're looking for equitable outcomes, right? Equity, and we're looking for equality in that regard, not equality under the law, then we have to recognize and accept that life is not fair, that some people are better off than others. Some people will make money, and there's nothing, and try to force equitable outcomes is why we have this woke left agenda. Your thoughts, Larry, the Liberty Guy.
Yeah, who says life is fair? That's something that's never been promised to anybody. And the leftist agenda drives everybody to a state that is, drives everybody down, doesn't bring people up. And I want to see people raised up. I think this has a lot to do with the argument about minimum wage. Not all work has the same value. It's about the value you're generating in the market. This is why those last 2 hours may have been the most important 2 hours, right? Hey, the sun is going down. We're running out of time. We have to get this job done or else. That work is more valuable than work that may have been done at 9 a.m. So what, right? That's how life works. And it's up to that landowner to make that decision. Is it fair? Well, if you step back and look at it, if everybody's being paid for the value of their work, maybe it is ultimately.
Yeah, and what you're saying is, what is fair is merit-based merit-based pay or outcomes or rewards. You work hard, you study hard, you get a degree, and you're in the right place at the right time. You're probably going to have a good outcome. But not everybody does work hard. Not everybody does make themselves as hireable or develop the skills they need. But even still, if you have two people working just as hard with the same education, different circumstances might mean different outcomes for different people. Maybe it's the environment they work in, the boss they have, the company's success they have. To try to force equitable outcomes, like we just heard our Vice President Kamala Harris talk about in an interview last week, that destroys the free market system. It destroys capitalism. It destroys the incentive to work hard and to invest. And basically, it's communism.
It's unjust, right? That's fundamentally, there's so many factors that go into wages that is impossible for one person to calculate. That's why we have this whole market system where everyone is working together in cooperation to come up with these numbers, right? Money is the way that we transmit that value, that knowledge to each other through supply and demand. This is basic economic stuff. I mean, the left lives in a fantasy world where they just refuse to understand something because it's complicated, right? They
Yeah,
want to
very
make
complicated.
it's very, very complicated. We're dealing with a complicated world with complicated systems here.
So the moral of the story, like the moral of the passage in the Bible, is that not all life is fair, but that doesn't mean it's unjust. It
Yep.
doesn't mean it's immoral. It doesn't mean somebody has been wronged, and it doesn't mean it's something that government needs to step in and try to fix, because there's nothing broken about it, even if it is inherently or accidentally unfair. All right, so and this is the reality of life. Life is not fair, and the left just doesn't want to accept that. You know, we live life, we do the best we can. That's what rugged individualism is all about, right?
Such a great economic message coming from the Bible this week. Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right?
It's
Amazing, right? That's an economic message that's get right in line with free markets, right there, coming directly from the Bible this week. Incredible.